Hello again, everyone, and this is Radio Entrepreneurs. My name is Jeffrey Davis. I'm the host of Radio Entrepreneurs, and want to thank everybody who have been turning on and linking into us and connecting with all our social sites as we are streaming more stories about entrepreneurship and how people are getting back to work and going to work and staying in work. Our next guest just started with us last month, first time. But I think a very important topic she brings up that I've been discussing with a lot of my clients. We're talking about Melissa Sidney, attorney at Tarlow, Hart Rodgers. Welcome back, Melissa.
Thanks, Jeff. Good to be here.
Thank you. Nice, strong stream we have for you this time. That's good. You know, I'm currently discussing estate planning with, not that I do that for a living, but a lot of them are talking to me and they're saying this might not be the best time. I keep saying to them, I think this is the best time to be doing estate planning. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about, I go back to the old romper room days, the good, the do be and the don't be,
Yes.
both sides?
Yes. I'll start off by saying there's never a bad time to do estate planning. It's always a good idea to make sure that your estate plan is current and reflects your wishes. One thing I see all the time is that clients come in with estate plans that are 30 years old, and at that point, it usually doesn't reflect their wishes. Their assets aren't the same as what they were 30 years ago. So just from a tax planning perspective, the plan that they have in place from 30 years ago is inadequate. I will say when I first started practicing, I met with a woman who was in her mid-80s, and her mother had just passed away when she was over 100. And she said to me, now that my mom passed away, it's really making me think of my own mortality, and I think now is the time I should get an estate plan. So I was glad that she finally did it for the first time in her mid-80s, but I encourage people to do it well before then. And now I think is a really good time to do it with everything going on. It's especially important to make sure that you have what I call incapacity documents, like powers of attorney and healthcare proxies. Those documents allow someone to make decisions for you with respect to your health and your finances if you're unable to make them for yourself. So those documents are extremely important right now.
Can we get a little bit detail on that? I guess I've had some personal experience with that with both older family members and younger family members. And I think a lot of people who are older don't want their kids handling it, but also, in today's world, it can be an important topic for parents who have children going away to college, and different issues. Can you sort of dive into that a little bit for me? Because I think, again, when these things are not looked at, they could affect an entrepreneur's ability to run their business.
Exactly. So a power of attorney allows someone to make financial decisions for the principal. And that can be helpful in a variety of contexts, whether someone is young and in college, like you mentioned, midlife and have a thriving business or other financial concerns, and also later in life when some people unfortunately start to lose capacity, it can be very, very helpful in allowing a parent or an elderly person get the help that they need to make sure that their finances are in order. And I've seen a lot of clients, unfortunately, as they age, that their children need to step in and help manage their affairs. I had one client who every week when she would have her hair blown out would give $1,000 tip to her hairdresser, which, was something that if she didn't have the issues with Alzheimer's and, being susceptible to outside influences, she never would have done. So the daughter having the power of attorney allowed her to get involved and say, you know what, that's really not what my mother would have wanted.
Wow. That's even by my standards, that's a big tip. I married into a family of big tippers, but that's pretty big.
Yeah. Especially on a $35 haircut.
Now, we're just having a little bit of a rebound on the stock market, but this is a good time for entrepreneurs to be looking at the transferring of shares. Let's say if they're over the age of 60. Mm-hmm. You want to go into that a little bit also?
Sure. Now is a great time to do gifting. I think the last time you and I spoke, we spoke about that now is a great time to make for the older generation to make transfers to the younger generation. And there are ways to structure the transfer So that way it's protected from the creditors of the younger generation, including divorcing spouses. And because some values right now are lower than what they were pre-COVID-19, now is a really great time to try and capitalize on these lower valuations.
Right. And what would that entail for an entrepreneur that's telling me, you know, as I'm restructuring my business and everything's going on right now and we're working remotely, it's not a good time?
I think the problem is that for entrepreneurs, things like this are never a good time because there's always something that's more pressing. And, you know, we've had clients who have set aside low value stock when it actually was very low value and have been able to transfer out millions and millions to their kids with substantial tax savings. And, you know, right now there's a 40% federal estate tax. There's also a state estate tax depending on where you live. Here in Massachusetts, we have a state estate tax on anything over $1 million. So it's definitely worthwhile for the entrepreneurs to think about transferring assets from their name into a trust for potentially a spouse or their children.
Interesting. But how much time would something like this take if someone wanted to embark on it? Does it take months, years?
You know what? I think it's good to have a coordinated plan. Right now, there's currently an $11.58 million federal estate tax exemption that's in effect.
Right.
It could change in 2020 with the election. So I think now is a great time to do it. And it could be done in a matter of weeks or months. I think that the largest driver of determining the time frame is how motivated the client is. I've had clients get it done within a few weeks. I've had clients where it's taken a few years. And I in my experience, it really depends on how motivated the client is to get the planning done.
See, and I would think, and I'm not picking Democrat or Republican. I'm in Massachusetts, so it really doesn't make a difference. It's going to be Democrat no matter what in Massachusetts. But if the Democrats get in, they're going to have to find money to pay for all this spending that's been going on over the last year or so with COVID and other things. They're going to have to find a way to finance it. They're going to look at that and try to get back to a normalcy again with financing. And maybe the only way to do that is to close that estate planning amount of money that people that it had been so enlarged over the last few years. That would be my logic. It's the easy place to go.
It's very easy. And most people don't realize this. There are only a few thousand estates every year that file an estate tax return. And only about 50% of the estates that file an estate tax return even pay any estate tax. And I apologize, I didn't look at the numbers before we spoke, but I believe I could be wrong. I think it's about 5,000 estates every year that even file a estate tax return. And of that amount, 2,500 pay estate taxes. So it's a very, very small fraction when you look at the total number of people who die in any year who even file or pay any estate taxes.
Well, and there is a fair amount of wealth that's reserved in this country. So, you know, Melissa, I always enjoy talking with you. If someone was looking for your advice, you know, make a connection with you, how would they find you at Tarlow Breed?
So they can send me an email. My email address is msydney, MSYDNEY, at T as in Tom, B as in boy, H as in heart, R as in Roger, -law.com. And my number is 617-218-2031.
You know, on a personal note, you know, since I've known Tarlow, Breed, Hart, and Rodgers for many years, if someone were to ask me last week a survey, who would be the last partner in the firm to go viral? If I were to list them from top to bottom, my last guess would have been Mark Furman. But on the weekend, you couldn't turn on the news and not see Mark Furman's family. So it shows you what goes viral and doesn't go viral. It's really more what's interesting to people. So,
and you know what? It also shows you how quickly people can change. So those clients who didn't want to do estate planning, something happens and they're running to you.
Right. So, well, I'm glad to have you on. We look forward to speaking to you again over the next year as things change and there's an election coming. So I thank you very much and wish you a continued good health.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Remind everybody this is Radio Entrepreneurs, and we've been speaking with Melissa Sidney, Tarlow, Hart Rodgers. We're going to be right back after a short break with more stories.